you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. My guest today is Dr. Nandita Shah. She has had a regular slot on Chef AJ Live for quite some time now, and it's usually the third Saturday of the month. It's called Saturdays with Sharon, spelled SHARAN. She'll tell you what that means, but she's all the way in India. Since she's visiting just like 3 miles away from me, we thought it might be fun because we're in the same time zone to do the show live. She's the author of many books, including this wonderful recipe book called Timeless Recipes for Healthy Living. And today you'll be able to actually ask her questions live after she does her short presentation. Please welcome her live and in person. This is great because usually we have to do everything pre-recorded because you're in India.
Yeah. It's really lovely to be with you, Chef AJ, and it's been lovely to be here and meet you in person and go to that potluck and that dinner and the walk together. We really had a good time together. And it's so amazing that your best friend is the person who's organizing my event in Maryland as well.
Isn't that funny?
Places that my brothers live are these two best friends, Chef AJ and Sharon McRae.
Yeah, what's interesting is even though it's spelled different, your organization is called SHARAN.
Yeah, Sharan is actually an Indian word. Sharan stands for, Sharan means sanctuary or protection. And Sharan is also an acronym for Sanctuary for Health and Reconnection to Animals and Nature.
Nice.
And that's the whole idea from which this stemmed, because, the reason we're so sick is because we're disconnected from animals and nature. We're disconnected from our instincts. We're living in a culture of disease and materialism. And if we can shift back to connecting, then all the answers are in ourselves.
That's great. So how do you like California?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And I love it especially because my brother's here, and then you were here, and Linda was here, and we met so many amazing people. All these people at your potluck who have reversed their diseases by a whole food plant-based diet. I mean, so many people here who are actually living examples of health through transformation.
I know it's so cool. And they're people like they're in their like 80s.
Yeah, like Al that we met that day, and I've made a video of his, which is on our social media. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm so grateful to be here with you, and this is our last um, show of this uh, series, Saturdays with Sharan. And in Saturdays with Sharan, we took a topic each time and looked at it in detail and had a few testimonials. And I'm going to soon talk about that. So, may I share my screen
Oh,
now?
yes, please.
Okay, great. So, today we're going to talk about holistic healing, the things that we have already been talking about. And um, I'm going to take you through a quick summary of what we've done, and then a few next steps, and then we'll have a question and answer session. So let's get started. So, like I said, SHARAN stands for Sanctuary for Health and Reconnection to Animals and Nature. And you can see our website address in every single slide. So please do visit our website. The recipe book that Chef AJ showed, that's a book that you can get a free download of. Like, you can go to our resources section, there's a section of publications, and you can download this free recipe book. And also, we have another Sharan Healthy Living book and a few other books. And we also have almost 600 lovely whole food, plant-based, oil-free recipes on our website. They're not salt-free, but you can skip the salt if you like. And some are Indian and some are international. So you can make all kinds of recipes from our website too. Now, I just want to go through the topics that we covered in Saturdays with Sharan, the whole series. And these are topics like I started out with the basic principles of healing, and then not necessarily in this order, but we covered hypertension and heart attacks and stroke and autoimmune diseases and acidity and GERD and peptic ulcers and digestive disturbances like Crohn's and celiac and IBS and eczemas, allergies, asthma. We also talked about losing weight to gain health and hormonal havoc, and how so many of the diseases that we see today are hormonal, like diabetes and PCOD or PCOS and hypothyroidism and infertility and menstrual disorders, premature puberty. All of these things are connected, and also to hormonal problems, and also prostate enlargement, breast cancer, prostate cancer, ovarian cancer. And we talked about diabetes and overcoming stress, anxiety, and depression, conquering cancer, aches, pains, and migraines, and then vitamin B12 and D deficiencies, which I think is very important for everyone to be aware of. Now, I just like to summarize our basic principles of healing. The first is, and I'm going to stop my share here and we'll come back to it here now and then. But the first is the logic of a plant-based diet. Because, um, you know, we often think that we're omnivores, that we've been told that we're omnivores, right? And just a moment. Yeah, we've been told that we're omnivores, but we have to think, what would we be eating instinctively? If we were to go to a farm or an orchard and you see fruits and vegetables, you instinctively feel like picking them. But if you see a chicken walk by or a goat or a cow, our mouth doesn't water. That's because it's not our food. Like a true omnivore or a carnivore, we can't pounce on it, tear it apart, and we can't eat it whole. Every animal eats their food whole. And honestly, every animal eats their food raw in nature. And we are animals too. So we should be eating the way every animal eats, instinctively and in the whole natural form, but we don't. So now, in order to get well, we want to go to a plant-based diet because that's the only thing we can eat whole and raw, and as much of fruits and vegetables as possible, and probably less grains, because when we see green fields of wheat and rice, our mouth doesn't water. And then we want to have things in the as whole form as possible, not processed and refined. And that's why we're cutting out oil and sugar and white rice and white flour. And I always say not to peel the vegetables also, because the maximum nutrients are just under the skin, and nutrients are the spare parts for healing. So if we want to heal, we need high quality nutrients. And we're the only species that sprays our food with poison so that other species don't eat it, but then we eat it. And that's the reason we always advocate for organic, and obviously as raw as possible, because, or as much raw as possible, just because every animal eats the food raw. Raw has the highest nutrient content, and that's what we should aim for. I'm going to go back to my screen share temporarily. Okay. And then, many people are vegetarian. I was at a talk just last week, and there were so many people who were vegetarian there. And I come from a country where a lot of people are vegetarian, and they get the same diseases, whether it's cancer or diabetes. all these things we mentioned. And that's because meat and milk have the same properties: high protein, high fat, and no fiber. So whether we are vegetarian or omnivorous, it's all the same. And that's why we want to shift to a vegan diet. Now, I often say that, if you want to know what to eat and what not to eat, make sure that you make a list of everything that's advertised and don't eat that. And that's just because, nobody's going to spend a lot of money telling us what's in our instincts, right? And so we don't need to eat foods that are advertised like meat and milk and eggs. And the things that we really need are never advertised. Nobody's going to spend on that, like fruits and vegetables, apples and oranges. So it's really easy to figure out what we should eat. And of course, organic because of higher nutrient content, as well as because we don't want to consume chemicals, because chemicals are hormone disruptors and chemicals are carcinogens. And we already talked about more raw foods. And if we are on a really healthy diet, we are unlikely to have too many deficiencies because nature would never have it that we need to go to the pharmacy and get supplements, right? So we really don't need any supplements, not even extra protein, nothing except vitamin B12 and vitamin D, which may be required. The reason we might need vitamin D is because it's actually a hormone that's formed by the action of the sun on the skin. And if we're not outdoors enough at the right time, and that too with the sun coming directly on the skin, we won't get enough vitamin D. So this we should always check because too many people have vitamin D deficiency. And we have a whole session on that. So you can look into that if you like. And then vitamin B12 is only made by bacteria. And we have a super hygienic lifestyle. And on top of it, we have the mobile phones and the mobile phone towers that destroy the vitamin B12. And sometimes we take antibiotics as well, and therefore we really need to check and supplement this vitamin. Anyone, not just vegans, anyone can have vitamin B12 deficiency. So let's go back to the screen share. And then we talked about treating at the level of cause. Like when we take medicines, the medicines are aimed at symptoms. That means the medicine helps to remove the symptom temporarily. But if we understand the cause of disease and remove that, and that's what all the previous episodes were about, the causes of various issues, how to remove them so that you can be free of them without medication. And if you are already on medication, you can cut down the medication. So we have to understand the cause of every disease. And the biggest cause of disease is fat. Fat comes from oil, butter, margarine. All the ready-made products almost always have fat in them. And animal products are full of fat. That means meat, fish, chicken, milk. If you boil them, you get fat on top. Now, it's interesting that plants also contain fat, like coconut, peanuts, nuts, even seeds. But if you boil them, you will not get fat on top. And that's because that fat is held with fiber. If we consume fat the way we were meant to, with fiber, we won't have any problem. And then today we're going to look a little bit beyond food, but just a few things that we already have looked at that, it's not just the food that we eat, but exercise and rest at the right time, and water and fresh air and sunshine and temperance. That means avoiding addictive, harmful substances, even like tea and coffee. Now, don't let me scare you. That doesn't mean you have to transition and do everything all at once. You can take your time, but it depends on how sick you are and how quickly you want to get well. If you are ready to take all the steps, then it's better to just let go of all the harmful things as soon as you possibly can. And chemicals are all over these days, not just in the food. Of course, non-organic food is filled with chemicals, and packaged processed food also contains chemicals, but medicines are also chemicals, and we put chemicals into our mouths with toothpaste and mouthwash and all kinds of things that we should look at twice and maybe get the most innocuous of those to use if we have to use them. And then chemicals can also enter through our skin. That means if our skin is dry and you put lotion or oil on it, it disappears, right? It's going inside. So chemicals can enter through soaps and shampoos and perfumes and deodorants and hair dyes and cosmetics and all kinds of substances, hand sanitizers. So we really need to think about them twice and remember that all these substances are tested often on animals. That means they're so dangerous that we first have to test on animals before we can use it on our bodies. And we have to understand how dangerous they are. It's better not to use too many of them. And then, we also take in chemicals through inhalation. All those perfumes and air fresheners and scented candles and sprays of all kinds, the pest control and window cleaners and toilet cleaners and floor cleaners. And so it's real detergents. It's really good to minimize your chemicals to avoid cancers and the hormonal problems. And we also talked about the mind and body connection and how, we experience emotions through hormones, and so do animals. And we take in hormones through animal foods and take in their emotions. And, any animal that's been through slaughter isn't having a good time. And so we're having, the stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol coming to us through the foods that we eat. Now, that's not all, our gut microbiome is called our second brain. And if the gut microbiome is really healthy, then we are happier. And the foods that help our gut microbiome to bloom are fiber, and fiber is only found in plants. So that's another reason why we want to consume only plants. Now, every animal eats and lives according to its niche so that the whole is in balance. We are all living in symbiosis. Like we as human beings are actually fruitarians. That means we would be eating fruits, botanical fruits, like even cucumber and tomatoes, and many of the vegetables are botanically fruits. That means a plant flowers and then it produces fruit, and vegetables and fruits are both botanical fruits. And we are, by nature, frugivores. Now, if when we eat fruit, we're not even hurting the plant. In fact, the plant needs us to eat the fruit so that the seeds can be spread. So we need to eat more according to what nature designed for us and not animals because it's not our food. Now, we also live in symbiosis within the body. The human body contains trillions of microorganisms. That means we have more microorganisms in our body than cells in our body. Imagine that 10 microorganisms to every cell, and we can't survive without those. That means we are living in symbiosis, and actually, every time we take an antibiotic, we are killing all these microorganisms with which we are living in symbiosis, and therefore it's detrimental to our health. Therefore, antibiotics are harmful and should be used only in emergencies. Actually, when we eat animal products, when we eat animal products, we are eating antibiotics with every bite because all these animals in our food chain are given antibiotics so that they can survive the harsh conditions that they are raised in. And of course, if you eat organic meat, they're not given antibiotics, but it still can be harmful in other ways, like we already talked about. So going back to my slide share, and just a moment. So we all depend on each other. Like, for example, without bees and insects and other pollinators, there would be no plants. And today we are actually facing a crisis because the bees are being killed by the large amounts of pesticides being used. And a world without plants and animals isn't even thinkable. It's just a concrete jungle. And each and every animal has its own niche, but a world without humans would actually be, because we are upsetting the balance of everything, a world without humans would be beautiful and in nature. So if we can get back to our niche where we were supposed to be, then every species could blossom. We are all connected. Think about it. If we have a molecule, the molecule depends on all the little atoms in it. And all these atoms come together to make cells or molecules. And we are a conglomeration of so many different microorganisms and cells. And, each cell doesn't know that it's part of a whole. Similarly, each human being or each living creature is part of the whole earth. And if you think about it, the earth is just a fraction of the entire universe, which is unimaginable in size. So we are like a little cell on the earth, and the earth is declining or getting older just as we are, and we can actually slow down the decline of the earth if we live in accordance to nature. So whatever happens to the earth also happens to us. Like in the past, the earth suffered from acute diseases like floods and droughts and fires and pests. And we also suffered from acute diseases. But today, very few people die of acute diseases. Today, chronic disease is the real killer, and that's because of toxicity. And as we increase the toxicity in our body, we are also increasing the toxicity on earth through plastic. Plastic never decomposes. and chemicals, or rather, plastic takes years and years to decompose. And chemicals and garbage and pollution that we're adding to the earth, things that will not go away way beyond our lifetime. And so we're collecting this toxin. And as we live the lives that we are living today, you can see that the earth is suffering. The earth's lungs are collapsing as we cut down trees to raise animals for food. Her circulation is damaged. This is actually a photograph. Post the floods in Kerala, the wells dried up, and that's because the rivers were blocked with, garbage, toxin, plastic, everything. So just as our arteries are getting blocked, the earth's arteries are getting blocked, are getting narrower, and some of them are even bloating because of, the water needs to go somewhere, but it can't go into the earth. And so it's going everywhere else. The earth's liver cannot break down all these toxins. Everything that we put in our body is broken down by the liver. And so many people today have fatty liver and liver diseases because the liver cannot break down all the toxins. But we're doing the same thing to the earth. We're, these are photographs from close to where I live, where people are just dumping their garbage. And right now I'm in the US and everything looks so beautiful. But even here, there are, grounds where all the garbage is being dumped because it has to go somewhere. And her kidneys, everything that we put in our body is broken down by the liver and excreted by the kidneys. And the earth too cannot filter all these toxins. And if you see in rivers and even in the ocean, this plastic pollution is causing a problem. And today we are getting the microplastics in every glass of water that we drink because we have so much pollution now on the planet. So today the earth suffers from cancer. What is cancer? Cancer is an overgrowth, an unrestricted overgrowth of undifferentiated cells that destroy the whole organism. And today, we are an overgrowth because there are too many humans on the planet compared to all the other species. But even more than us is the livestock. Did you know that 92 billion land animals are slaughtered every year for the 8 point something billion human beings that we are? 92 billion land animals. Just imagine. So, like our own body, the earth has a lot of reserves, has self-healing mechanisms, but there's a limit to all of this. And so we need to not just heal ourselves, but in order to survive, we need to start healing the earth as well. I want to show you a really beautiful video, and this is one from India. But what's special about it is that it's about this couple. One is an Indian and one is an American, and they bought 300 acres of land in India just to regenerate back to the forest, to give back to nature. So let's play the video.
First came the grasses, they came in thick. Then smaller shrubs. With them, the insects returned. Then the trees, and with the trees, the monkeys and elephants. Here at Psy Sanctuary, we have over 300 acres of forest that we have replanted and brought back to life. My full name is Pamela Gale Malhotra, and I am co-founder with my husband of Psy Sanctuary Trust. It had always been our dream to have a private forest sanctuary for wildlife where they would be protected. When we first came here, most of the lands that were sold to us were abandoned lands, abandoned rice fields, coffee, and cardamom fields as well. A lot of deforestation had taken place. And that took a lot of care and energy and time and years to bring it back.
They've really done well this year.
Yeah, they've done really well. People thought we were quite crazy, but that's okay. A lot of people have thought people that have done some amazing things are crazy. Here in the sanctuary, it is a biodiversity hotspot. I remember walking through the forest, you wouldn't hear anything but the sound of your own feet. Now, the place is alive with sound. One of our main sound makers are the cicadas. They have a tremendous decibel range. Here they start again. We keep striving to do more and more, but the initial goal has been more than achieved. My hope for the next 10 years for this forest is that it will continue to be protected and expanded. We both feel a tremendous amount of joy when we walk through the sanctuary. I've never felt this kind of joy in anything else that I've done in my life.
So isn't that beautiful that when we heal ourselves and we understand the connection with nature, then we heal nature as well. And today, when we are facing climate change and, species are being exterminated, there are pockets, so many pockets in the world that are helping to bring this back. And even if we can't do all that, we can do it within our own microbiome. We can start working on ourselves and get healthy again. You saw that, right?
Yeah,
Okay, great.
of course.
Okay. And so I'm going to go back to my screen share. So the test for symbiosis is this beneficial, whatever I'm doing, is it beneficial for me and everyone else? And does this harm anyone or anything else? And if it's really beneficial for me and everyone else, it's fine. And when we eat animals, it's not good for them, but it's also not good for us. So we have no choice but to reconnect. And when we're young, we know this. But as we grow with the teachings of our culture and we forget all this. And that's why Dr. Albert Schweitzer said, until he extends the circle of his compassion to all living beings, man will not himself be free. Today, we have so many problems because of climate change and, floods and fires and everything all over the world. And I believe that no matter where we are, all religions are one in spirit. Like religion is basically just a philosophy of life, and the philosophy of every religion is the same. The rituals are different, and that's what actually breaks us apart, but we are all one if we think about the philosophy, which is love and forgiveness and gratitude and responsibility and sacrifice meaning personal sacrifice and not sacrifice of animals, and ethics, truth and sharing and compassion, and the fact that there's a higher force and other realms, and that our behavior will be judged, or we will, whatever we do, we are going to reap our future is going to be based on whatever we do today, right? And that is true. Whatever we do is what we live with. And of course, health. So Sharan recommends no animal products for several reasons. It's not our food. It contains too much fat, and animals are the only animal products contain cholesterol. So if we have high cholesterol, it's only from animals. There's no cholesterol in cashews or coconut or any plant. There's no fiber in animal products, so we can't clean our system out or detox. There's excess protein, and excess protein causes so many diseases, including, protein is the food for growth and repair. Cancer is a growth. So excess protein causes cancer, excess protein causes kidney disease, gout, acidity. It can even cause certain allergies and certain autoimmune diseases, like animal proteins cause autoimmune diseases. And we can only eat excess of animal proteins because plant proteins have fiber. Fiber prevents us from overeating. But nowadays, you can even buy plant protein powders. So the fiber is removed, it's a protein isolate, and we can overeat. So these are the things that we should avoid. Any supplement that's just prepared, unless we really know that we need it. How many people do you know who have protein deficiency, right? Protein deficiency is almost unheard of if you're not starving. And animal products spread pandemics, and today we are facing another one, which is bird flu, right? So these are things that we really need to look into. And it's ecologically harmful because it's killing the earth's lungs. And, it's causing so many problems. It's causing land pollution, air pollution, water pollution. And of course, it's polluting our minds too, because we have the stress hormones from the animals we're eating. And of course, it's bad for the animals. 92 billion land animals go through slaughter every year. And the sea animals are even more numerous. It's psychologically harmful, as we saw, and spiritually, it just doesn't fit. Because if we are to live with love and forgiveness, then we have to stop harming animals. So, in summary, health is our birthright, and we could always be healthy if we eat according to our species. And it's our duty to eat and live as close to that which nature intended. And when we're born, we know what we're supposed to do. Every baby loves its mother's milk, but when it's first given cow's milk, it doesn't appreciate. Children who have been brought up vegan don't enjoy eating animal products just because they haven't been conditioned to eating it. And our body always works to heal if we take the cause of the problem out of the way. So we can heal by understanding the cause of disease and removing it. And as we heal ourselves, we are contributing to healing the whole. So before I go into what SHARAN offers, I'd like to stop my share and ask if there are any questions now.
Let me look in the chat. Guys, please put them with, there's a couple that have been sent in advance, but they are on medical topics.
Okay.
And Susanna's there. She's our wonderful moderator. So we'll see if there's any questions that have already been posted. And I'm looking.
Happy to answer any questions because this is my last, the last talk of these series, right? So I'm happy to answer any questions that there are, even medical questions.
Yep. Susanna, you're texting me. Do you see? Oh, okay. Here's one. Thank you for putting them in the text because I must be missing them. Okay. Well, Sarah wants to know if antibiotic cream on the skin has a similar negative effect as antibiotics that are taken by mouth.
So yes, and that's because even on our skin, there are all these microorganisms that keep everything in order. And so if we are killing the microorganisms on our skin, it's not good. But we have to think, why are we putting antibiotics on our skin? Because we have a skin disease that, our body produces diseases or symptoms in order to let us know that we're doing something wrong. So how can we think a different way? How can we start thinking, what am I doing that's unnatural? How can I help my body by doing things that will help the body heal? And if we get the cause out of the way, the body will naturally heal. So we can get rid of most of those antibiotics.
Thank you. And here is another one. Let's see. This is from Rebecca. She would like to know if you can share a healing story of someone that was resistant to changing their diet, and how did you get them to change?
Okay, so there are different ways. So it really requires understanding why they are resistant. I think everybody's resistant to change. So am I. But how did I change? Because I'm sensitive to the cruelty to animals. And when I realized that I was vegetarian all my life, and I was so happy to be vegetarian because I thought that I'm not harming any animals. But when I realized that in order for us to consume milk, cows are treated so badly, they're artificially inseminated, their babies are taken away from them. And recently I read somewhere that dairy is an industry that takes babies away from their mothers. Actually, the whole animal food, the industry that raises animals for food, the whole industry is something that separates babies from their mothers. And do we want to be a part of that? And that's why I quit dairy. When I quit dairy, I started seeing all the articles talking about why dairy is harmful, things that I never saw while I was consuming dairy. And I think that it was just because I didn't want to see it. So here's what I think. If you want to help someone transition who has a lot of reservations or doesn't want to change, I think the best way is to keep quiet, but be very clear about what you're doing. And
Have you ever told that to Linda Middlesworth?
Well, yeah, I always tell that to everyone because, I have two brothers in the United States. And I used to teach in the United States earlier, and I used to come every year a couple of times and visit my brothers. And when I became vegan, I would just be strictly vegan when I was with them, when I was staying with them. And they both turned vegan, and so did their families. And I'm so impressed. Like right now, I'm at my brother's house in Roseville, and I see that he doesn't even have a soap in his house that is not 100% vegan. I'm so impressed, and they weren't like that, but they've changed over the years just because they realized. So I think what prevents us from changing is just that nobody likes to change at all, and nobody likes to be told what to do. So we really need to be the example for them, or we need to help them connect to something that they're sensitive to. Like if you love animals, you can recognize straight away that a pig is the same as a dog, right? I think that farm sanctuary is an amazing place. Farm sanctuaries are amazing places because if you take someone who isn't vegan, but they see animals and they see, animals that we normally exploit being able to live their best lives, then they might think of shifting. And having said that, I've taken people to farm sanctuaries even this time, and I'm not sure that they will change immediately. But it's a seed. And over a period of time, another seed and another seed, like I did with my brothers. I didn't do anything, but they changed over time. So I think eventually there are only two kinds of people, vegans and pre-vegans. And the pre-vegans are going to be vegans because we have no choice, because we won't survive on this planet if we go on the way we're going on right now.
Thank you. There's a question from an Instagram viewer, G.R. Brawley. How do we reduce our use of plastics when everything seems to be packaged that way?
Right. And I've seen a big change even in the United States, because I've seen that, when you go to a grocery store, there's less plastic bags, and there are places where you can pick up things without plastic packaging. You can reuse the plastic bags that you've already put your vegetables into and, take them back to the grocery store and fill your vegetables and weigh them in that. So there are ways if you put your mind to it. And, the best way to learn about this is go on to the internet and look for the videos of people who have lived plastic free. Many of them are from the United States. And they tell you that they have just one jar in which they can put all their garbage over a period of a year, and they manage to do it. So there are ways out, maybe most of the plastic, even though it says recyclable, isn't recycled. But here's what I've seen people do. I've seen people build houses by filling bottles with plastic bottles with plastic and using them as bricks and building houses. So once you have your mind set on it, you will find ways. My way is to never shop with anything which has plastic. So I go to a store where I can buy all my beans and grains and everything in bulk. And I always carry my own bags and reuse the bags again and again.
They have some stores here in Roseville, like, for example, for people that use beauty products like shampoos and conditioners and soaps, that you buy it once and then you go back and you refill it from that same company. So you're only having one container.
Imagine. So everywhere there are more and more people thinking of this. Great.
Thank you. Okay, here's a question I'm seeing from Barbara. With so many issues I face, from autoimmune problems and gut problems to arthritis, would a holistic doctor be of help? I'm whole food plant-based for about 5 years, but I still suffer.
Yeah, so that's why I said that, like, the only thing, it's not only being whole food plant-based, but it's also avoiding the chemicals, making sure you have more organic, etc., etc. And I think a holistic practitioner could help. Why not? And we at SHARAN also have consultations. We have a team of doctors. So if you like our philosophy, You can take a consultation with us as well. You just go to our website, and I'll show it again in my last slides. So you just go to our website, and I'll show you how to book a consultation in this very show.
Thank you. And here's a question from Susanna.
Or shall I show it right now?
Sure, that'd be fine.
Okay, great. So I'm just going to open our website. Okay. I'm going to share my screen. And so this is our website, sharan-india.org. And here, if you go to consult, and then it says, how do you book a consultation? If you're on medications or have serious medical issues, you consult a doctor. If you're not on medications and need help with disease reversal, weight loss, general nutrition, and supplementation, consult a nutritionist. You just pick one of these, and then you'll be guided along the way how to pay and how to go ahead with it. And while I'm here, let me show you our recipes section, where we have 600 odd recipes. So you can look at any of these sections, say here, and you'll find, all kinds of recipes that can help you, and all of them are whole food plant-based. And the most important section for you is our resources section. And here we have our publication section. There are also a few other sections that may help you, like traveling vegan, but our publication section, you can download these recipe books, the one that Chef AJ had in hard copy. You can download them for free. So don't miss going to our website and downloading some of these things. And other books are available only for purchase, but all of these are purchasable and will be sent to you from India if you wish. And we also have an events section, and we have so many events that can help you. So I just want to show you some of them. And they are going on in India, but if you don't, if you're in the US and it's another time zone, you can always opt for getting the recording. So there are all these things, they're free and paid events. And I do want to mention that today I have a talk, Navigating the Challenges of a Plant-Based Lifestyle and Why It's Worth It. And so in case anyone wants to come today, you can book this as well. It's today at 5 p.m. Pacific time.
Great, thank you. Susanna says, over the course of your career, what changes have you seen in the plant-based movement, and do you have hope for the future?
Oh, so you know what? I became 100% vegan when very few people were vegan. In India, maybe like 5 or 6 people. And it's grown to a huge movement. And where I live in Oroville, there's even a place called Sadhana Forest, which is a reforestation project, which is entirely vegan. And it's just amazing. And recently there was a big vegan festival there, and there were, I think, over 600, say around 700 people there, staying there, camping there, and it was just amazing. So I think the movement is growing. I must say that I fear that meat eating is also growing in India and also around the world. But I was so happy to be here in Roseville because I met so many groups of people and everyone was vegan. So I know that no matter where you are nowadays, you can get support if you look for it, because there are more and more vegan people everywhere, and more restaurants catering to vegan needs.
Thank you. So I have a couple of questions that were sent in advance, and there are several episodes on this YouTube channel if you'd like to see previous shows that Dr. Shah did. Many of them involve testimonials from people she's worked with, as well as delicious recipe demonstrations. And this is a follow-up from one of the talks you gave on the digestive system. And this is from Judy, and she wanted to know about what advice do you have for someone diagnosed with SIBO that has food intolerances, some FODMAPs, mainly beans like white, red, and black, and mixed IBS symptoms?
Okay, so, I wouldn't ever just give advice like this, because when I do a consultation, I look into everything. What medicines are they on? All their tests, exactly what are their symptoms? How did it start? Often an emotional situation can cause a physical problem. So we need to understand the cause and remove it. So I'm not able to give you advice here, but if you would like to know more, I would suggest a consultation.
Thank you. I saw a question here about omega-3s and if they help. I'm trying to find it. If they help anxiety, omega-3s.
Okay, I don't have personal experience with that, but here's the thing. Omega-3s always need to be in balance with omega-6. And omega-6 comes from refined oil. And if you cut out the refined oils, then the omega-6 goes down and you hardly need to take additional omega-3s, because nature would never have it that you need to take all kinds of supplements. So if we're eating right, state of mind should improve for a variety of reasons, also because the gut microbiome improves and the gut is our second brain and so on. So it's not just one thing that makes a difference, it's everything together, which is why the whole is more important than the sum of the parts, which is why I even talked about today about how we are connected to every other living being on the planet and the planet itself, right? We might not recognize, just like individual cells in our body don't recognize that they are part of a whole.
Thank you. The question is, what about omega-3 supplements? It was in general from Sharon.
So here's what I think. If you have symptoms of omega-3 deficiency, or if you have symptoms after making a shift to a whole food plant-based diet and doing everything possible, you may try omega-3 supplements and see if they help. I did. Actually, I had a cataract operation, and after that, I got dry eyes. And they told me that, and I also researched and found out that dry eyes are improved with omega-3 supplements. So I started taking omega-3 supplements, and it helped, but not too much. And then I started putting a lot more flax seeds in my smoothies. It helped a lot. So we never know where the help is going to come from and how the whole is is better than just taking the supplements, the flax seeds. So maybe we can try a few things. We all do need omega-3, and if we are taking oil regularly, we may need more of it. So we just have to see what works and what doesn't work for us. I think that that's not a fixed answer for everyone. Like, there were times when I've tried omega-3 supplements in the past and it didn't do anything. There were times when I've advised people with joint pains that weren't getting better even after doing everything to try putting flax seeds in their smoothies, and they came back and said it was amazing. So we have to try to understand what the cause of each symptom is and then remove it.
Thank you. Tara would like to know, if you had to be on antibiotics due to an illness, how do you heal your microbiome?
It's a long process of eating right, avoiding any antibiotics again. But before we go into you had to be on antibiotics, I would rather say, because I feel that a lot of people are going on antibiotics much more easily than they should. So how can we, before we go, like if someone gets a cold or sinus problem or something, they go in and take antibiotics, sore throat antibiotics. How can we wait and really work on improving our immunity so that we don't go for those antibiotics? But if you do, here's what you could do. Antibiotics kill our microbiome. So you could take 1 or 2 probiotics after the antibiotic course is finished. Now, this will introduce only certain families of bacteria, but a good microbiome would have all the different families in the correct proportions. So it's going to take time to build up over a period of time of collecting fiber, eating fiber, making sure that you're cleansing at the same time, the gut microbiome will build up. Personally, I would suggest avoiding my antibiotics as much as possible. Does that answer the question?
I sure hope so. Here's a fun question that every live guest gets, but we haven't done a live with you until today. And it's from Tina, and it's, what does Dr. Shah eat in a day, and what does Dr. Shah do for exercise and stress reduction?
Okay, great. So let me answer them one by one. What do I eat in a day? I start with a green smoothie in the morning. All this time, my green smoothie was green leaves, bananas, and other fruit. I use frozen bananas, other fruit, and a little bit of water and blended it into a thick shake. And usually I'd have 2 glasses of this, and this would hold me till lunchtime. At lunchtime, I generally have a big salad plus one other main dish. It could be a sandwich, it could be a stir fry, anything. And at dinner, if I'm too late, I have fruits and a green smoothie. If I'm not too late, I have a light meal. I usually, when I'm working, I don't eat in between. And when I'm bad, like when I'm traveling, I do eat in between sometimes. And that's just some fun food. It could be like this morning, I had muesli and pistachio almond milk for breakfast after my green smoothie. So that was something in between the meal. I'm usually 100% whole food plant-based, and sometimes I do eat things which are not whole food, but I'm 100% plant-based, and at home 100% organic as well. The second part of the question was,
But wasn't that just your breakfast? That wasn't your whole
oh,
day.
yeah, sorry. No, I said the whole day. Didn't I
Okay.
say about the salad and the main course, and then dinner would be either fruits and green smoothie or one light dish for dinner? Because I'm usually late for dinner.
Nice. Okay. And what do you do for exercise and stress reduction?
Okay. So for exercise, I'm not a great person for exercise. Like I'm not the kind of person who can go to the gym or go for walks in the same place again and again. So what I do for exercise is I park my vehicle very far from my house, so I have to walk a long way each time, and I go home for lunch. So I'm walking a lot during the day. Plus, in the evenings, I collect the leftovers from 2 restaurants and put them in a big bucket, and I feed it to stray animals on the, like, if I go outside of my gate, there's a long way where there are different stray animals that I feed, and I try to get them spayed and neutered. So I do this every single day. Like right now, I'm here, so I have someone staying in my house, picking up that food and feeding it to them because they're used to it now. And so it's basically human food. It's from vegetarian restaurants. So there's some whole grain and vegetables and dal that's fed mainly to dogs. And then sometimes I see them injured and I get them like take them, like there was a car that ran over a puppy. So I took it to the vet and got it, looked after it and put it back on the street once it was well. So all this keeps me moving all the time because I have to walk a long way with that food. And that's my exercise. And I swim. I have a swimming pool very near my office, and I swim 3 times a week if I can. Sometimes I don't.
And what about mindfulness or stress reduction? Do you have like a daily meditation practice?
Actually, I don't. When I moved to Oroville, actually, it was before that I met someone in Oroville, and he was very intense about his work. And he said, my work is my meditation. And I realized that being totally focused in whatever you're doing, at least for me, because I'm only doing things I like to do most of the time, helps me de-stress. Like I feel de-stressed when I've done a good day's work. So I like that. I'm not the kind of person who usually watches movies or music or things like that, but I love to cook. I cook my own food. I cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner myself, however simple it may be. And yeah, I'm not too stressed.
Thank you. One of the Instagram viewers are asking if you still practice homeopathy.
No, I don't. And the reason I don't is because it's the same as medicine, right? Like medicine helps to remove symptoms, but how can we go to the cause and remove it? And I do believe that homeopathy can help work at the level of cause, but an even deeper cause is eating the wrong foods. So how can we? I mean, I'm just helping people get well by eating the right foods. And I want to say that I conduct a 21-day health retreat. We do all the tests at the beginning and all the tests at the end. And during the retreat, I just help people cut down medications. I've seen people cut down so many medications in these 21 days. I've never seen that when I was practicing as a homeopath. I've never seen that speed of healing. So now I know that nothing can heal faster than lifestyle changes because the wrong lifestyle is the cause of disease. But I do want to say that in our 21-day, we have meditation and yoga and nature walks and swimming classes and so many other, and we have cooking classes every day, movies every night. So people can pick and we have a talk every day as well. So people can pick and choose what is suitable to them, but we try to get the results in 21 days. And often it's possible. Sometimes, when I started, it was almost always possible. Nowadays, I have more and more serious cases that may not get completely well in 21 days. But imagine if we can just get well in 21 days, how amazing our body is in its healing. And so I would always work towards how can I help someone actually follow the natural guidelines, the natural laws to healing so that they can always be well and not temporarily. That's why I don't do homeopathy anymore.
Great. Thank you. Well, it's been wonderful having you on the show all these months, and I wish you safe travels back to India.
Thank you. And I'm just going to show a few more slides to round up, if I may.
Okay.
Real quick. Okay. Okay. So I just want to share what SHARAN offers. So I already took them through the website. We have a YouTube channel which has lots of talks similar to the talks that we've done with Chef AJ and others as well. And you can learn a lot from there as well. The publication section I already talked to you about, and the events and the consultations and the retreats. And we also have training programs that help people become, doctors and nutritionists, do good consultations, as well as people train people to do cooking classes and facilitation. And these are just some of our dishes from our 21-day retreat. And just want to show you a few photographs from the retreat. So, we've had many people, even from the US, attending our 21-day retreat. And I'd love to see some of you there one day, if you
Wow,
like.
that's so cool. Do you do all the cooking?
No, we have 7 chefs. We have a resort. We rent a whole resort with 24 cottages and 26 acres. It's on a beach. There are hills behind and forests. And that resort has its own yoga teachers and yoga center. It's actually a spa. We have massages as well. I forgot to say that. And they have 7 chefs who look after it. But we conduct the cooking classes, not me. We go with a team of 5. And so we have cooking classes every day. And in the last week, we break up the group into groups of 5 people, and each group does the cooking for everybody else one day. So so that we can make sure that they all know how to do whole food, plant-based, oil-free cooking. And so we do that every single day, in the retreat. So everyone goes out. So what the retreat helps with is, if you have difficulties in actually following this will help you do it.
That sounds wonderful. Well, Dr. Nandita, it's been wonderful getting to know you and seeing you in person now and having you on the show. And it's funny that the person that's taking your spot, the 3rd Saturday of the month, she's from India originally. She lives in the United States now, and she's a wonderful registered dietitian named Deepa Deshmukh, and she's going to be doing a show called Ditch the Diets with Dietitian Deepa. And she's going to talk
That's
about
awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Chef AJ. It's been wonderful doing
Oh,
this with
been
you.
such a pleasure meeting you. And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back tomorrow a little earlier at 9 a.m. Pacific time. It's my 2000th episode, and you'll be celebrating with me and Dr. Ron Weiss. We'll be happy to answer your questions. Thanks for watching.